Scotty, thanks so much. That's right. I think we rewrote this segment about 3 times so as we want to give you the top 3 weather headlines, and they kept changing throughout the day. And we start with this news that came out of FEMA today that their director and their administrator, Brock Long, has resigned after about 2 years on the job. Still a lot of details not coming out just yet, but you'll recall that FEMA was an agency that was meeting just last week with the National Hurricane Center as they were preparing for the upcoming tropical season. Now, it's not immediately known why he resigned, other than waiting more information to come on out officially. We will note that there have been some stories recently about an investigation into him using a government vehicle to drive between his home here in North Carolina and Washington, D.C., but that's not to say that that was the reason that he resigned, other than the government agency announcing that he is no longer their director as of today. The other big piece of government news that we're watching as it affects services like FEMA and the National Weather Service is that we are just now 2 days away from the next potential partial government shutdown. And the reason that's of interest to us here in the weather community is because if we were to enter into another partial government shutdown, workers, including those at the National Weather Service offices here in the Carolinas, would potentially go unpaid once again. So while lawmakers have reportedly come to a deal that will avoid that, nothing has been officially signed yet. So we're some 2 days, 3 hours, 40 minutes, and 18 seconds away until we get that signed on the dotted line. Some good weather news, especially if you're a technology fan, is that we now have Goes West up online, which is going to provide some beautiful imagery, especially over the western half of the United States. You'll recall that Goes East, the new satellite, went into service, so what was it, guys, a year or two ago? So now we have these beautiful rapid refresh, high-resolution images all across the United States. And the best way I can describe this, if this is not your area of expertise, is it is like the equivalent of going from a standard definition television to a high-definition television. And we're very excited now to have that straight across the board with one bird watching the East Coast and one bird watching the West Coast. Scotty, back to you.
Thanks, James. You have some exciting news, Jared. I'll bring you in for just a second because I know you love this stuff. We used to have that excuse, well, we really don't know what storms are doing out over the Pacific Ocean. We don't have a lot of data to be able to, kind of dissect the storm. Well, now we've got some of that data, so hopefully the looks of it could help better forecast maybe events that hit the West Coast to move east.
Yeah, and it's pretty remarkable. The launch of GO 17 is great because we now have 2 satellites that we control in the GOES R series. GO 16, Goes East, launched. It became operational about a year ago, not too long ago, about a year and a month ago. And we get 15-minute full discs as opposed to full discs every 3 hours, which we used to do with the old GOES series. So GOES 15 is still up there. They're going to compare it with GO 17. GO 17 just has a couple hiccups with its water vapor channels, issues with the advanced baseline imager on that satellite, or is going to corrupt some of the imagery at times, just having some cooling problems, and then the infrared feeds back on itself. It's a really nerdy explanation, but we have the 2 advanced baseline imagers and Himawari 8 on the other side of the world. That basically the advanced Himawari imager is basically the same hardware that we have in the GOES satellites. So that is really cool. We now have 10 to 15 minute rapid refresh of 3 views of the Earth at a full disk, which is awesome. There's testing underway now to increase the refresh rate to 10 minutes for the full disk. So that looks to be coming into operation pretty soon, which is very exciting. And the other part about GOES West that's really exciting, the new GOES West, is that we now have lightning data from the geostationary lightning mapper, not just for Atlantic storms, but now for Pacific storms. So we're going to learn a lot. We're going to get a lot of really good data, and excited to see how things improve. This is always really interesting. Satellite data is a big part of what goes into the models. So more high resolution, more frequent data, I think, is going to be a big win for all of us.